Hello viewers, a tour guide is a person who plays a significant role in promoting attractions, culture and tradition of a destination. He is in the front line when it comes to providing needed services to the tourists apart from just guiding at the attractions. Friends, I welcome you to the episode on roles and responsibilities of tourist guides in making such promotions. For better understanding, this episode is divided into 5 parts: meaning of tour guide, categories of tour guides in India, types of tour guides, need for tourist guide training, guiding at various tourist attractions. Let us understand the meaning of tourist guide. A tour guide is a multitasking individual and a professional who represents all the people living in the country, reflecting the attitudes, traditions and ideas they hold. They are the only liaison between the tourism companies, tourism transportation companies, restaurants, hotels and other tourism facilities and the tourists. Tour guides are the persons who spend most of the time with the tourist, and consequently they are to understand the specific needs of tourists, work to fulfill these needs combined with the ability to present the different issues in an interesting manner for tourists. Definitions. World Federation of Tourist Guide Association defined a tourist guide as a person who guides visitors in the language of their choice and interprets the cultural and natural heritage of an area, which person normally possesses an area specific qualification usually issued and are recognized by the appropriate authority. In the words of Kathleen Lingle-Pond, a tourist guide is in varying degrees a business person, often freelance, sometimes employee, a travel industry representative, a public relations representative for his or her site, city, region and country, as well as an educator, an entertainer and a public speaker, among other roles. Principles and aims of tourist guides as per World Federation of Tourist Guide Associations: to provide a professional service to visitors, professional in care and commitment and professional in providing an objective understanding of the place visited, free from prejudice or propaganda. To ensure that as far as possible what is presented as fact is true and that a clear distinction is made between this truth and stories, legends, traditions or opinions. To act fairly and reasonable in all dealings with all those who engage the services of guides and with colleagues working in all aspects of tourism. To protect the reputation of tourism in the country by making every endeavor to ensure that guided groups treat with respect the environment, wildlife, sites and monuments and also local customs and sensitivities. As representatives of the host country, to welcome visitors and act in such a way as to bring credit to the country visited and promotes it as a tourist destination. Categories of tourist guides in India. The tourist guides can be divided into 3 different categories, namely A class tourist guides, B class tourist guides and C class tourist guides. The Department of Tourism and its tourist offices select A grade tourist guides according to their requirement. At present, graduates having history as one of their subjects in the degree course and the knowledge of one or more modern foreign languages are preferred. Candidates selected have to undergo 3 months training. During this period, they are told about the followings: Number 1, Indian monuments, their origin, history and other features. Number 2, classification of hotels and other features of hotel industry. Number 3, functioning and running of travel industry. Number 4, special features of Indian customs and costumes, social ethics, brief history of India. Number 5, economic development in various segments after independence. Number 6, wildlife sanctuaries. Number 7, classical folk dances. Number 8, tourist formalities for disembarkation in India. Number 9, passport as one of their subjects in the degree course and the knowledge of one or more modern foreign languages are preferred. Number 10, functioning and visa. Number 11, customs regulations. Number 12, mode of transport. 13, air travel and IATA regulations. 14, sea and rail travel. 15, special concessions for tourists. 16, Indian food and beverages. The candidates are taken around the tourist monuments, local sightseeing and excursion to nearby places. In addition, documentation on slides are used to acquaint them about the far off places of tourist interest. On successful completion of 3 months training, candidates have to appear in an examination. Those who qualify the examination are kept on permanent panel of approved guides. They are awarded certificates and issued identity cards and badges. Every tourist guide must carry the cards and the badge at the time of conducting the sightseeing. The Department of Tourism also organizes 3 weeks refresher courses for approved guides and information assistants through its field offices in India. There are facilities for language courses for the approved guides. Grade B and C guides are approved by the Departments of Archaeology, Government of India. These guides are stationed at the monuments. They are authorized in the limited area or in a particular monument or a few monuments situated in the vicinity. They are not allowed to take the tourists around the country. Part 3, types of tourist guides. Tourist guides are characterized on the basis of the nature of tourist place they guide about. Example, Anna, who is a guide at the WHS Sun Temple at Konark, gives information of the art and architecture of the temples, hence she is an architecture guide. Similarly, a guide found at the Kaziranga National Park who gives information on the wildlife present in the park is a forest or wilderness guide. Similarly, we have the below classifications. Classification of guides on the basis of the nature of the tourist destination. Number 1, heritage. The guide of these destinations are A. History guide, one who gives information of the past, moreover found at palaces, forts, museums, battlefields, tombs, mausoleums, temples, churches, etc. B. Archaeological guide, one who gives information on the ancient civilizations and the bygone era found at museums and archaeological sites like the Giza Pyramid, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, Nalanda University, Machu Picchu, etc. C. Architecture guide, one who gives information of the art and construction strategy of the monuments and masterpieces from the past found especially outside temples, palaces, tombs, mausoleums, towers, etc. Number 2, cultural guide. Culture guide is the one who gives information on the lifestyle pattern on the native society of that particular tourist destination. They are further classified as A. Cuisine guide, one who gives information on the agriculture, cultivation and staple diet of a place, delicacies of that region and where to eat what and when. He or she takes the guest around the city, making them taste specialties prepared at different food shops and restaurants. Places visited are farms, restaurants, sweet shops, chocolate factory, cheese factory, vineyards, orchards, etc. B. Religious guide or temple guide or pilgrim guide. One who gives information on the religion, gods and goddesses, mythology, traditions, rituals, etc. Such guides are hired especially during festival times. They are found at temples and other shrines. Number 3. Adventure guide. The persons involving in guiding adventure-based tourism activities are called as adventure guides. They can be mountaineering guide, trekking guide, skiing guide, surfing guide, scuba diving or snorkeling guide. Number 4. Forest or wilderness guide. These guides are well versed with the wildlife of a particular region. They are also classified as hunting guide and safari guides. Number 5. Coach guides are known as city tour guides. Number 6. Nature guides like desert guide, hill station guide, botanical garden guide, etc. Number 7. Special interest guide. They are cruise guide, golf guide, shopping guide, hotel guides, wedding guides, etc. Considering the above factors, we find that to be a perfect guide is one who need to have broad range of knowledge, understanding and insights in order to discourse and answer questions of all possible tours. For example, a group of farmers from Spain visiting India were to tour a number of the best dairy farms in South India. It was impossible to locate a Spanish speaking guide with a wide knowledge of the methods and terms associated with animal husbandry. This led to conclusion that there is a need for two categories of guides, general and specialized one. The general category includes such tours as town visits, while the specialized one would cover visits to archaeological or historical sites requiring very particularized knowledge. Specialized guides should also be needed for such visits as industrial centers, factories, farms, education institutions and health facilities. General tour is of two types. It is either standard or custom built. The standard tour is designed and advertised and can be purchased by anyone. On a custom built tour, the tour leader is consulted beforehand about the composition of his group, the background of his members, types of interest, level of education and so on. A tour is then put together to meet the specific needs of a group and the tour guide chosen can be briefed accordingly. For the general tour, which is a specific type, specific programs and dialogues can be developed. This creates the means for better quality control over the product which the tourist buys. The program for tours should be searched and standardized according to the best sequence of visits and other factors. Standard dialogues for the visits in different languages can be prepared, but they would not intended to eliminate the guide's creativity and personal touch. Every guide will develop his or her own particular style and delivery, but tour will remain essentially the same. Well developed and standardized tours also make the training of guides very straightforward. In preparing programs and dialogues for tours, the principle of the general and specific should be followed. For example, it can be confusing to the listener when an isolated event in history is described without first of all giving the broad historical context in which the event took place. When the comprehension of different languages is mixed within one group, it may create a guiding problem. If, for example, there is a need for a commentary in 3 languages, it is very testing for the guide. It also involves a lot of lost time. every effort should be made so as to assemble groups according to language. It will also be better to bring homogeneity in the group as regards to age, level of education and background. With specialized visits to such places as archaeological sites or museums, it is often difficult to match the number of guides available with fluctuations in the volume of visitors. Printed programs with cassette players and earphones containing pre-recorded commentary could be prepared and used. This will enable the visitors to guide themselves round, taking as much time as they please. A central information service can complement this approach, where visitors will be able to ask expert questions which may have arisen in the course of their self-conducted tour. A general tour of a town or cities will always include visits to shops or commercial enterprises to view and to purchase arts and handicraft products. To avoid controlling of guides and the practice of commission to guides, an approval list of such establishment could be prepared. The guide will have no discretion in the matter and is directed to what shops to visit on a particular day. In order to monitor acceptance and satisfaction on the part of the visitors, a feedback system could be created. The guide should fill out a brief report on completion of each tour. Guides should also meet periodically to discuss their various experiences and to recommend improvements to the service. A sample of visitors can also be asked to comment on the tour, for which a well-drafted questionnaire could be used. Need for tourist guide training. Lack of proper training is the biggest handicap in the field of tourism. We do not have a proper and systematic system for the training of tourist guides in India. Specialized training in tourism is available in various colleges and universities. Most of the courses are at the postgraduate level. One has the option of degree courses or a one-year diploma course in tourism, or a postgraduate course are also available. These courses train individuals as tourist guides and for managing trekking and tour operations. Basic qualification is a prerequisite. Command over one or more language is a must. Extroversion is self-understood. The rest depends on how you look at yourself and others against the backdrop of a historical monument or from behind one of the information counters. On the other hand, tourist guides could be trained in approximately 4 to 6 months. The training session should include classroom teaching, practical application and development of knowledge and skills, etc. The course should cover languages, tourism, history and geography, contemporary studies, etc. For specialized guides, a short course could be introduced. As the demand for such services is periodic only and guides should be part-time and available as required. These specialized guides could be full-time employees in other type of work with related governmental, non-governmental bodies of or professional institutions. An example of the professional knowledge required by a tour guide is mentioned in the guidelines issued by International Guides Academy, Baltimore, USA, which is as follows: A. Knowledge and technology of travel industry. B. Business trend in the industry. C. Art of public speaking. D. Pre-tour departure preparations. E. Airlines and airport procedure, baggage handling, baggage lost. F. Knowledge of passport, visa and other related issues. G. Destination knowledge, local, national and international. H. Cultural practices, local, national tourist culture. I. Local food availability, place, time, quality and price. J. Group psychology. Option tour. K. Special items of that location. L. Emergency handling, health, police, safety and security. M. Accommodation availability, check-in and check-out times. N. Motor coach commentary. Guiding at various tourist attractions. A tourist guide is supposed to work for 8 hours for full day sightseeing. During these hours, he is supposed to tell the tourists about the places visited. It has been observed that he has an unlimited scope for his work. His work multiplies from the situation to situation. He has to do many works for his clients. His duties can be explained as follows. Number 1. Guiding in monuments. Before taking a tourist party to monuments, a guide must know the country of origin of his guests and their profession. The past and cultural heritage of the concerning countries must be compared. A guide must remember some similar monuments. Similarly, comparisons are very much needed while explaining the various monuments to the tourist. At the monuments, he appraises his visitors the proper nook and corner for getting best shots. Sometimes he handles the camera himself. A tourist guide must give the following details of monuments for a clear understanding of the tourist: the years of construction of the building, the prominent builders of the monument, the history of the monument, dimensions, heights, etc. of the buildings, architectural features like Gandhara, Mathura or Dravida, school of architecture and sculpture, historical evolution, the inspiration which a particular monument has given to similar construction, aesthetic appreciation, beauty, symmetry, harmony and balance for which the monument is famous for, decorations features. Number 2. Guiding in wildlife parks. Guiding in wildlife sanctuaries also demand knowledge and cautious approach. A tourist guide should tell the following points to the visitors: name, location and history of the sanctuary, the identification of species, the animals or birds one is likely to encounter, their distribution in space, their migratory habits, what do they eat, where do they live, how are they tamed. Number 3. Miscellaneous. For excursion, he advises his guests for carrying cold drinks in the ice box and pack lunch in their vehicles, helping tourists in the selection of good food, drinks and typical restaurant for particular dishes, offering tips to waiters, drivers, etc. In the dancing hall, he explains the mythological background or significance of the different poses. Purchase of souvenirs, picture postcards, books, postal stamps, films, cigarettes, etc. Choosing other place of interest in the tour in the vicinity. Informing tourists about evening dance shows, exhibition, sound and light programs, etc. Suggesting an itinerary for visiting other distant tourist places even for the next trips. Looking after the confirmation of flights or booking in the hotels with or without the help of handling travel agents. To sum up, tour guides are the professionals involved in guiding the visitors in their own language and interprets the cultural, heritage and natural legacy of a particular region. They need to provide all needed facilities as desired by their clients with amicable dealings and also protect the reputation of the tourism business of that region. There are 3 categories of tourist guides in India, namely A, B and C. and the guides are mandated to undergo necessary training to obtain the license and to equip themselves to handle the tourists. There are many types of tourist guides, namely heritage guides, cultural guides, adventure guides, wilderness or forest guides, coach guides, nature guides, special interest guides, etc. Guiding at various tourist attractions include guiding in monuments, guiding in wildlife and others.